Why does trickle-down never seem to actually trickle on down to us? Because ours is really a system designed to, like a Dyson vacuum, provide maximum suction up to the top. Should any wealth actually trickle down, it's probably accidental. What was the result of supply-side policies? The idea was that by coddling the wealthy, everyone would be better off. That didn't happen. The idea was that by allowing the wealthy to take home more money, investments would boom. That didn't happen either. But take home more money they did. Instead of money trickling down to people like you and me in the form of wages, vast amounts of money have instead been sucked upward in the form of skyrocketing CEO compensation. It's not a trickle coming down, it's a roaring, rampaging river of money going to the top. That was the whole point from the very get-go. Remember, a massive upward redistribution of wealth. Cutting taxes on the rich was supposed to put more money in the hands of the rich, and it did. Instead of spurring higher growth rates, growth slowed. Why? Because giving more money to fewer people means fewer people have money to spend. Part of the reason for the post-war boom time was that wages increased for everyone. When everyone has more money, they spend it. Having money in pocket spurs consumer spending. Consumer spending makes up the biggest part, more than 70% of the American economy. Today's increasing inequality means one tiny segment of the population is vastly overpaid. Overpaying them means underpaying everyone else. Having vast numbers of underpaid workers means they can't afford to buy the things that they are making. The problem isn't that there's a lack of capital lying around at the top, but that there is a lack of demand coming from below. Is this dynamic in the best interest of the American public? If policies designed to increase inequality fail to bring any of the benefits that were promised, why should we keep massive inequality? Just because the rich get a sweet deal doesn't mean you and I should be forced to go along with it. Most studies show that Americans want to increase taxes on the rich. In 2019, a Politico poll showed that 76% of registered voters wanted that. Shortly before that, a Fox News poll also showed 70% of Americans wanted to hike taxes on the wealthy. Even a majority of Republicans said they wanted that. Take a look at Gallup's historic trends on the question, and you can see that a majority of Americans have said that the rich pay too little in taxes going back almost 30 years. If you think that the government takes it too easy on the wealthy, you should do something about it. If it's possible to increase inequality through government policies, then it's also possible to do the opposite. Proof that inequality policy can concentrate wealth is also proof that different policies can spread the wealth just as easily. In their book, Winner Take All Politics, Jacob Hacker and Paul Pearson point out that the government has many tools at its disposal to affect income distribution. The laws that govern what labor unions are allowed to do, the minimum wage, corporate governance, the rules for financial markets, the kind of risks allowed for high-stakes ventures, all of these have an impact. But it's clear that taxation is the big dog. When the government decides to reduce the burden on one group, another must accept the burden. For the better part of 4 decades, the predominant policy has been to reduce the tax burden on the rich whilst increasing the tax burden on everyone else. It's possible to reverse this trend. It would be incredibly popular to reverse this trend. Taxation matters. In fact, having high taxes on the rich might be the very reason that democracy ever worked in the first place. But I'll save that for another day. In the meantime, ask yourself why you've been conditioned to believe that no politics can happen outside the two-party system in this country. Wealthy patrons basically own both major parties, and you know as well as I that nothing will change if we leave it up to them. So is the answer to throw up our hands and say we're helpless? Or are you willing to roll up your sleeves and start doing the hard work of educating others, organizing with them, and kicking the corporate-sponsored political parties square in the ass? Take a moment to like, follow, favorite, and sign up for my free Substack. Like I always say, let's make them pay.